This is Let's Talk Business with your host, Marc Ebinger. Now, here's Marc.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Business podcast. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk about running a property management franchise and all of the ins and outs and things to do and what you guys do and what you don't do and how you make money at it. Because at the end of the day, that's what I like to talk about is making money. In studio with us today is Stephen Poer, a property management professional and the owner of PMI Bluebonnet Realty. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
First time podcast,
First time everything. So
okay,
yeah.
All right. Well, welcome. We'll
Thank
treat you gently, I think here. Yeah. I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the owner of Krukus Virtual Staffing, a company that recruits and staffs experienced overseas administrative assistants for insurance agents who need help with policy management, claims processing, and client communication.
And I'm your co-host, Heather Boehme, certified business coach and owner of Onset Professional Development, where we help overworked and burnt-out business owners gain control of their business and reclaim their time.
And I'm Howie Nestel, the owner of Sharkmatic Advertising. One thing that I realized many, many years ago after 30 years in business is that all businesses struggle with marketing. So we've spent 30 years developing a signature approach to helping clients communicate effectively and economically. And as a result, our clients tend to be more successful than their competitors.
Love it. And you can find them on the internet, right? I actually did a search of a company, I won't say who, and they don't have a website yet. And somebody has almost their exact name, and you know who this person is. Oh. That has almost their exact name, and they come up in the search. The other one comes up in the search, but they don't have a website yet. And I'm like, I cannot believe that she doesn't have a website. So anyway, I'll work on that for you.
Thank you. I've had clients that passed up doing web listings, meaning claiming their Google, Manta, Yelp, Bing, and all these other places where you can list your business on the internet because they didn't feel like they needed that because they had a good website or a good web presence. And then they had a competitor claim one of their listings and then funnel business that way. And you lose business. You have no idea how much business you're losing when you're not fully found on the internet. That's the epicenter of where business gets done.
You know, as many times as I think I've heard you say web listings in conversation and stuff, I just now got what that means.
Yeah. So people know about getting their Google listing, but what about Manta, Yelp, Bing? There's a lot of more obscure ones. I'm not going to get my business from Yelp. Yeah, but Yelp comes up on searches.
Yep.
And it's a qualified link back to your site as well. And so you want to claim those or have somebody like Sharkmatic claim them for you.
Yeah, because it'll say, are you the owner of this business?
Correct.
Kind of a situation, right?
Kind of an aggregate, yeah.
Right.
So what about, have you claimed all your web listings yet?
I'm going to make sure I do.
That's what we do here. We put people on the spot. Shit, I didn't know I was going to be quizzed on this.
Let me start claiming them now.
All right. I'll be on my phone over
Can
here.
I send a text real quick?
Yeah, right. All right, a quick reminder to follow the Let's Talk Business podcast on all major podcast platforms and social media where you can catch video version of the show. Of course, you can get to everything easily by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. All right, so Stephen, give us a little bit about your background, how you ended up, or who you are and how you ended up in the property management business.
All right, and this is an hour show?
Yeah, right. But this one's meant to be about 90 seconds.
Yeah.
No, I grew up in the Dallas area. Went to university at Texas Tech. Was a Navy guy for about 8 years. Was in corporate America after that, inside and outside sales, and then most recently I was worked in directional drilling. So I'm a geology major from Tech. Kind of came full circle and spent a lot of time in the field, as you can imagine. So there was good money, but the lifestyle left something to be desired. And so a couple of layoffs in about 5 years. Very fickle industry. If we're not drilling, we're not getting paid. So you can be sent home for quite a while. Extensive times at home and so forth. So I needed to have a little bit more control in my life. And ultimately, we opened doors. My wife and I opened doors to Bluebonnet in June of 2020. So back that up a little bit. There was some research, and we kind of knew that we wanted to do a franchise model. I have a grandfather and her father. They were very entrepreneurial. So I really was wanting to start a business, but I had a good idea that I wanted to do a franchise model. And so a couple of layoffs in the oil field, and I wanted to have more control over my next chapter. So Did some research, and we thought that despite not being agents or brokers, we do have a good background in the military as Navy veterans. So there's leadership skills, management skills there. And we thought that while we're not licensed, we are well credentialed now. I will toot my own horn in that regard. So we're credentialed to do the association management services that we currently provide. And so wanted to have a little bit more control, and we looked at several different businesses, but we arrived at Property Management. Property Management Incorporated, our franchisor. They ultimately checked a lot of boxes in order to get started. And so we originally officed from home, for example. We didn't have to spend $1 million in brick and mortar and so on and so forth. And I'm maybe jumping ahead a little bit, but the common thread in our industry, so HOA might as well be a 4-letter word, right? We had the management skills, and we had the knowledge to do the job a little bit better in our industry. The pain points are not associated with having a track record in real estate. That's not why people jump ship or change management companies on the HOA side. And so we thought we were in a good position to communicate effectively and provide some management skills to the boards of directors that ultimately hire us, and where they needed help navigating their day-to-day and month-to-month operations were not related to a 20 plus 30 plus year track record in real estate, if I'm explaining myself. So
yeah, I understand. I was just curious though to kind of drill down on Mark's question. How'd you go from military, corporate, oil to picking property management?
Yeah, well,
as a business.
Sure. No, most recently until PMI Bluebonnet Realty, I was in the oil field, and so it was being laid off that was the catalyst.
Yeah, but how'd you get to? So a lot of entrepreneurs listen to the show and wantrepreneurs. People who'd like to start their own business. But how did you say, hey, you know what? Let's see. Do we do painting? Do we do auto mechanic, or do we do property management? How'd you get to property management?
It was a consultant that we found online who helped us, a free service, and she ultimately helped us turn a big list into a little list based on characteristics of, how much money do we have to spend, and do you want to office from home, and all of the things that when you're opening and starting up, just again, PMI checked a lot of boxes. So there was a veterans discount available, and again, we thought that our background was best suited for property management, in particular HOA management. Hopefully that answers your question.
Can I ask, HOA, coming from a real estate background, A, who doesn't hate the HOA, right? And B, it seems like one HOA management company, there's one that you definitely know of. It's not Bluebonnet, because I've written a bunch of resale certificates for them, can manage a bunch of HOAs. So what's the standard amount you can handle, and how hard is it to get your foot in the door in some of these associations? Yeah,
and that kind of ties to our value prop. It's our deliberately small size. So it was doors open with my wife and I. We have virtual staff overseas. We also have in-house staff now. We're based in Blanco. Again, going doors open in June of 2020. So we were 4 years old last month, starting year number 5 of our business, and just had a particular vision in mind of quality clients over quantity. And so we are very different from our competition, especially in the metro areas of Austin and San Antonio. Again, being based in Blanco, we're very, very rural and have a particular client that we look for, which I can certainly elaborate on later. But it's our small size, and we don't grow too fast, and have tried not to do that. So I think that's key to being where we are now.
So what characteristics do you look for in an HOA?
We try to find boards who want to be our partner. We want to remove previous pain points. We want to demonstrate who we are and how we're different, and we want to encourage them that we are ostensibly subject matter experts when it comes to the things that really get them in trouble are state statutes, legalities, and knowing where they can and can't maneuver properly. And so that's probably our single best quality is our continuing education and our commitment to understanding and interpreting the law and their governing documents so that they don't take liberties we collect the money, we pay the bills. That's pretty straightforward stuff, but we really pride ourselves on our knowledge of state statutes and Texas property code.
So those are the quiet things. The loud things are the letters that the homeowners get because they left their trash can out, kind of a thing, right? So how do you address those issues? Because these things are important you're talking about, but the client facing, and let's say the client is your homeowners, right, that are actually in the HOA, what are their things that they're looking for you not to mess up or to not be ridiculous on or to get it right so that the laws are actually, followed?
Oh, absolutely, and that's one of our major obstacles. Every time there's a major, upset homeowner or grievance over an email received, a letter received, there's a misconception. They think it's coming from us, like I've got this in my back pocket, and that's just not the case. So we're hired to ultimately save time and sanity and do all of the facilitation, and part of that is compliance and making sure that homeowners follow the governing documents, the CCRs of the community, however strict, and that the policies are in place. They're current with the state statute, and so on and so forth. So we don't, to answer your question fully, Mark, we don't embellish. We don't make things up or say, hey, that, we know Mark, we'll let him slide, but Howie's grass is
troublemaker,
is
that guy.
We got to hammer him. We have two pieces of information: the covenants, conditions, restrictions, and Texas property code. Those are our Bibles. Outside of that, we don't embellish. We don't get creative. We just follow those doctrines. But your average homeowner, the awareness in the education just isn't there. For example, I'm sure between the three other people besides me in the room, I'm sure you've at least lived or owned in an association at one point in time, homeowner, condo, something. So, have you participated in your open board meetings? Have you attended your annual sessions? The average homeowner doesn't really bother to investigate those things, doesn't participate. The boards that hire us, that's a volunteer position, right? So that often comes with very little to no training. So just to have that interface and be able to be hired by those individuals is a large obstacle for us oftentimes. And now our charge is to manage 100 units or 500 units or what have you, and there's a 5-person board. The other 495 people don't have a clue, the average clue on the relationship between the board of directors and the management company. There's no law that says you have to go out and hire a management company.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. What percentage of homeowners associations have a professional management company helping them?
We're going into our 5th year of business, and while again, it's not a requirement. You can't make them hire a landscaper by the same token, but it is. I would characterize it as absolutely a best business practice.
Right.
So I this is very little to do, and I'll bring it back to business, I swear, but Realtor.com, the first thing I do is toggle no HOA in any situation.
And if they have a toggle, that means that a lot of people don't want to be somewhere where there's an HOA.
But they're becoming, every single new build community has an HOA these days. So what does the lead generation look like for you? If these boards are voluntary and 95% of the population doesn't even participate, how do you go out and get in front of these voluntary boards, let alone get them to hire you?
Well, opportunities like this can only help. That's been probably an area, well, not probably, that's an area that for PMI Bluebonnet Realty that could certainly use some help, is our lead generation, the awareness, and just knowing that we're there and we can help, and we can probably help better than our competition.
Can I spitball an idea real quick?
So
Please.
follow up to
before we
that
do
particular
rapid-
question is what does your franchise tell you how to market?
Yeah, I was going to go there. And what did they do for you?
So it's a combination, and we've got a website. It's kind of managed at the corporate level, if you will. So I don't have unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of flexibility with what.
That's not a good start, but go ahead.
No, but we've heard that here
Yeah.
on the
Oh,
show,
yeah,
and
big time.
I've heard that in my business for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's true. But we have a good relationship. I'll maybe skip ahead a little bit. Land developers are custom land developers are probably our best client. If you were to ask me what does a good client, a great client look like, that's them. We can get the association while they're young, as I say, and coach the board along the way and so forth. That's where we probably have the best shot at demonstrating our difference and our value prop. But lead generation. So website could be better, but certainly word of mouth and reputation. Google reviews, if we plan on maybe plugging that a little bit later as I was answering the form. I think if you were to investigate us, Better Business Bureau, if you were to look at our background and our track record, I think you'd find a high level of integrity and reputation
That's
there.
when
So
people already know you, though. So I think they're trying to get to what's the step before that? How do people find you, get to know you, get to know of you? Being on a podcast certainly gives you exposure to 25,000 YouTube subscribers.
I have an idea.
Targeting
Outside of
real
that-
estate agent or real estate brokerages, right? And building relationships with those guys. So I'm a networking
Or
guy.
investor
Or investors.
communities if you're looking for land developers. But I want to pitch
What about
my
the
idea.
Builders Association? Are you all members of the San Antonio Builders Association?
no, we are not. We don't, as a qualifier, we don't direct market to Bexar County, specifically San Antonio. But I've known Mark at some point. We met at some point last year, and so I was excited at this opportunity. So for clarification, basically we're everything in between San Antonio and Austin propers. So Comal,
Good place to be.
Comal, Blanco, Kendall, and Hayes counties. So we're about New Braunfels to Bernie, east and west, and then call it Stone Oak to all the way to Dripping Springs.
I went to a wedding near Dripping Springs and Blanco, and there were some gated and ungated communities with beautiful homes.
One of the
shocked,
first
and I'm sure
properties
that-
I ever sold was in Vintage Oaks, and they gave me a 6% commission on a piece of land, and my client bought 2 lots. That was a good day.
Yeah, I'm bathing in money.
No, and I'm
It was like $11,000 for 2 hours worth of work.
No,
It
and
was
forgive me,
dope.
Heather. I'm coming full circle. So, I mean, there are a couple of paid sources, websites that we can go on, and that helps.
Okay.
But classic, shaking hands, kissing babies, really, human networking. How is probably
Yeah, just don't shake babies because that's even
no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they tell you not to
right
do
there,
that.
Those
right
big
there.
stuff. Yeah.
Do you watch, are you on TikTok at all?
I am not. So
Okay. So one of my favorite things to watch on TikTok is like HOA nightmares. Have either of you seen them?
No.
So it's people just blatantly abusing HOA powers. It's the 5 people on the board that are just being total jerks about it.
Is it a mock-up or real? Is it
You
for
know,
real?
it's probably a combo. There's some people exaggerating it, and there's some people that are actually posting. But still, there's plenty of content.
Yeah.
So I think it could be cool to go on there and stitch those HOA nightmares and tell them how an HOA management company could have prevented something like that.
Those
I
stitches
like where your
work.
head's at.
Yeah,
You know what I
and
mean?
it's
Because you
fun.
can really pile onto somebody else's success that way.
Yeah, they can have a couple million likes and views, and then you come on and it starts out the video of, the HOA president yelling at the homeowner, and then you come on and be like, this is why we need property management.
There's a guy that built his whole, he's very successful. He does the listen, have you ever, you know what I mean? So there's like something that happens that's ridiculous, and then he pops in there, and then he'll make some kind of comment. And then
Do you stay
give a
on those
stat.
though? Because sometimes I jump off, not just on TikTok, but on others when somebody stitched something together, and then I don't get to see the whole story, and then I got to listen to somebody talking
It
about it.
depends on how
If they're good.
how
Yeah.
engaging it is, because there's a realtor in like Illinois right now, and she does that stitch where somebody will be like falling. So there was a guy who like did
Yes.
a jump, and then she jumped up on the house. It was like, I got a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, and I'm just
Right.
like, this is so ridiculous that I love
That
it.
kind of
Alex
stuff works. It's
Formose's
fun.
been doing
Yeah.
that
Now,
too a lot.
okay. Now, as a 30-year marketing professional, I can tell you.
Obsolete, you mean? I'm sorry.
No, not obsolete, not obsolete. 1 foot in the old school, Mark, 1 foot in the new school.
All right.
There have been tests that have been done and studies that have been done over years. So, for example, the Taco Bell dog, the talking
Yo
dog,
quiero Taco
they
Bell.
spent tens of millions of dollars on it, and it did not move sales. So they eventually abandoned it. And there are a lot of like very effective marketing commercials where they have high levels of recall, where people remember them, but they don't remember who the company was. They just remember either the mascot or the talking dog or the animation or the funny thing that happened. They just can't tell you who it is, who the company is. So sometimes, you're watching these realtors and all that. What's the name of the realtor that does those?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a real good point, Howie.
Solid point, but
Right.
it looks fun.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna have to create content,
Yeah.
might as well have fun.
Well, yeah,
doing
you just
it.
got to
Yes,
brand it, right? Your
agreed.
brand logo, something should be there, or
Well, if I was
colors
buying a
you're
house
wearing.
in that town, I would absolutely call her.
Yeah, bookmarked it. So
Well, I'm
yeah,
not gonna
having
buy a
1
house
foot in the grave and 1 foot in the what?
Yeah,
How
yeah,
did that work?
Yeah, in the future.
I
In
think
the
it's all
future.
about with the social media stuff, doing it in a way that you can actually stomach. Because if I have to just create curated content constantly, I'm just never going to do
Right.
it. But if I can just whip out my phone, record for a minute, and then just grit my teeth and hit send.
You know what? So I'm going to have my team look for ways to take some of what we're doing here and stitch it to something on TikTok.
That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah,
right?
that would be fun. Well, look, speaking of 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot in the future, Stephen just gave a great example of doing some old school stuff, which is the word of mouth, networking,
Kissing babies, not shaking them.
shaking hands,
babies.
but then also some paid sites for lead gen. So you can't ignore one and put all your eggs in one basket, but you have to do all that. The other thing I would say is you find what works, you do more of it, you keep doing it until it doesn't work. Then you go back and try other things, maybe something that worked the previous year that stopped working. And that's one of the things we do with SEO, and because the algorithms change all the time.
Yeah, they do. But something that doesn't change all the time is knowing when these building or these developers are going to look to hire their HOA. So was that something that you figured out on your own, or is that something your franchise helped you with, or do you even know what that is yet?
Yeah, it was that. Well, for us firsthand, it was our personal property. So we purchased inside a new development inside Blanco. My wife and I did, and networked our way up to the decision makers there, and we've been really working together ever since. And that while they don't cut subdivisions every week or every month, when they get a new one, they typically call us, and I think that speaks well of who we are. And
So having a relationship with the property developer and then continuing as they go forward and cut new.
What
Absolutely.
about real estate attorneys? I mean, Keaton's one of them, and he probably knows developers and probably works on land deals.
Yeah. So who do you go to that's servicing, that can really get you in front of the right person at the right time? That's all I would be thinking about, I think.
Sure.
That's how I need to think about my business too, by the way.
That's
No.
not all you should be thinking about, by the way. You should be thinking about other things.
And-
You know what I
and
mean? Versus
when-
just one channel.
Oh, sorry, Harry.
Go ahead.
No, and when we started 4 years ago, we immediately joined CAI, a trade organization that helps us with our credentials, and it's also a great networking platform, and even board members and self-managed communities will go there for education and all of those things. And so now it's really we do. Blanco Chamber of Commerce, Bulverde Spring Branch Chamber of Commerce. I very recently joined the Bulverde Economic Development Foundation, and that's a great source, I'm hoping, because Singing Hills, that area, 46 and 281, rapid growth there. And so I'm hoping that we can get our name out there and
What's
create
your
some
tactic?
awareness.
What is it you're doing to actually to get those relationships going with these people that are the decision makers on the HOA?
Ultimately, I need to be introduced to either a land developer who is the current board, or if they've already stood up and they, with or without a management company, I need to be introduced to either the developer or the board of directors. That's who ultimately hires us.
So what are some of the pain points that a board of director would Google if they wanted to, like if they were just over it and they probably would need you?
Yeah, number one that we hear all the time is poor communication from our competition, and so as a small office, that's where we can really excel. We can give that immediate attention. We have while we're a small office, we're also we're full service, and so I like to say we have the same toolbox as everyone else. So we've got very the tech stack, the software, the banking, all the integration is there. So I've got the same kit as my competition. But poor communication, number one. Number two, it can be with financials. If there's the appearance of mismanagement, or if they kind of feel like they're being nickeled and dimed. You'll see, if you look at their P&L, you'll see, management fees, but then you'll see, hidden costs. That can be frustrating, to name a few.
I was going to ask about that. So there are no standard pricing in your industry like there are with realtors, where, it's a certain percentage. How's the pricing model then?
And that's probably the best news of all. So again, our franchisor is in the Salt Lake City area. We're obviously an independent office here in Central Texas. We write our own contracts and set our own pricing. So if I need to be competitive in those areas, I can. I have the freedom to do that. So PMI helps with the branding. In the advertising a little bit, the websites. They defray cost in other areas, but they don't necessarily give me leads, and so that part's on us.
Can I bring it around to, I'm going to totally take it left field here. So you became an entrepreneur about 4 years ago, from corporate, military, very structured, to entrepreneur life. How has that been? What's the journey been like for you?
A challenge. I'm at the point where we've hired a business coach recently, and I am trying to go from a self-employed community manager to a true business owner, and then maybe even more entrepreneurial after that. So it's tough. This is my first business. You have to take on a little bit different mindset, because day one, when you have open doors, day one, no business. Okay, I'm going to throw on the sport coat. I'm going to the chamber today. I'm going to have coffee. I'm going to have lunch. Then all of a sudden, someone says, I walk in and Mark wants to hire my services. Well, how many associations do you manage? You'll be my first, Mark. No one wants to have that conversation. But fast forward, you get a couple under your belt, and then all of a sudden, that operations kicks over. Howie, I don't know if you can remember those days for Sharkmatic, but I mean, the operations kicks over, and it's just like, oh my gosh, head goes down in the sand, and there's no strategic vision anymore. That's been very challenging.
Well, having a franchise, you're ahead of the curve, because our franchise manages 456 of these nationwide. What's your next question? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like that's what you're coming to the table with on the franchise side. That's a huge benefit for you guys, I would think. But going out and finding that first piece of business, it's like, I think you got where you're hunting, but who are you hunting in the place that you're hunting, and how do you find those people? How do you make sure they're even going to be there at the chamber or whatever else? I'm just trying to get in on that very targeted, so you're not wasting time. Like I've wasted lots of time in networking, right?
No, it's difficult
Most of us have who've done
because unless they tattoo it on their foreheads, how do you know who the board members are, right?
Yeah, but
so
also, Mark.
Well, that's a great question. How do you know who the board members are? Because they're the ones that are hidden. Because how do you determine that?
Yeah, I mean, it basically takes an introduction. They don't. I mean, we've once you give me a surefire way to do lead generation
No,
in
you
this,
gotta
I'll
do it.
write you a very large
Association
check. So.
of
Somebody
companies?
knows this though.
But somebody knows this, but somebody knows someone who's on the board. So he can connect with people who know somebody who's on the board of an association. But
Right.
also, I'm sure, have you looked into maybe in the automation of LinkedIn that your team is doing?
Yeah, so that's where I was going to
Finding-
go. But the thing is you can find the people who know who the board members are.
Yes.
Probably through LinkedIn.
Yes,
Right.
and I'm will apologize. I'm not a social media guy, advertising guy. I'm learning all this stuff on the fly, and so we have experimented. I don't know if I'm allowed to plug other companies, but our franchisor has put us a recommended vendor, and we've tried to mine that and prospect that over time. And I couldn't tell you what the success rate is now, but we were trying to, kind of who are the board members. If they'll write that in their title, great. If not, who knows? And it takes time.
One of the things I do when I'm networking, and I do a lot of it, is I'll figure out like who are the people servicing your ideal client, right? Who are the other B2B folks servicing your ideal clients right now? And then those are the ones that I'll connect people to, or the ones that I'm looking for, right? If I'm looking for insurance agents that are ready to hire virtual assistants, for example, well, who's servicing insurance agents, right? And let me go get in front of those people and then get those introductions, because that's how you find out.
What about plumbing companies and HVAC companies that are
Working
servicing
directly with the
HOAs?
board,
That
yeah.
the HOAs are hiring them or putting them on the approved list.
Well, not necessarily servicing HOAs, but servicing.
Well, servicing the homes in the HOAs, but some of them have approved vendors. I even know of a neighborhood in San Antonio that has approved builders only. That's it.
Sure.
You cannot build unless you use one of these.
That
builders.
really gets into the vertical of earning additional revenue, right? Because if you're an HOA or you're a management company, do you have the flexibility or the ability to then create this preferred vendor list? And if so, you can charge for it. Because I see it happening all the time with management companies are charging $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 to be on this preferred vendor list, right?
I had a landscaping client that paid to get into an HOA.
Yeah, and and I'll maybe put it into greater context. You can, especially if you're as ignorant as I am, you can write some large checks in advertising and marketing and not knowing what you're doing. And believe me, I did that the first couple of years, just throwing darts at the wall and what sticks and what doesn't. And so trying to really hone in and refine where the best ROI on your time and your geographies and so forth.
What's your business coach telling you?
That's
Where is-
exactly what I was going to
Yeah,
ask.
yeah.
What are the conversations with your business coach
Where are they
talking
directing you in order to increase? Because ultimately, sales is going to be prospecting and sales are going to be a big piece of where you're at right now. What's your business coach telling you?
Sure, and I think it's really where are you spending your time? What are your critical success factors? But and I think I've been one of the best things that we could do tomorrow. I think I've been maybe a little shy about this, and there's really not a need to do that anymore. Is under our current portfolio is to just ask for a referral and see where that goes, because that's I'll qualify, we're at about 2,400, 2,500 billable units, as we say in our industry, across a little bit maybe 20 to 25 associations. So that's a few hundred folks, right? So certainly, or a few thousand folks rather, and there's no need to be shy.
So asking for referrals, and then do you ask for reviews, and where do they put those reviews up?
Yeah, typically. So we've got a Google business page, Facebook and Instagram. No TikTok yet, but that's predominantly where
LinkedIn?
we're.
Did you say LinkedIn?
Yes, and I don't know how you can certainly qualify this. Once upon a time, I was told to concentrate on my personal profile. Don't worry about making a business profile for PMI Bluebonnet Realty.
No,
You do both.
People
we go.
want to root for a person, not a business per se, but the business still needs
Yeah,
to
it's called a
exist.
company page. You
Yeah.
got to have one of
Yeah.
those, because actually on your personal page, you say, I'm the owner of this particular
Yeah,
company,
then
and
you
that
just
links over to the
create
page.
content
Yeah.
for the business from your personal page.
And people do business with people based on who they are, not on companies. and what companies do. But that's the deliverable. That's the deliverable. But the connection is made with a human. So I leverage Howie Nestel on LinkedIn and all of my friends that want to connect with me that don't necessarily give a shit about Sharkmatic Advertising until I give them a reason to care.
Yeah.
And then they follow my page, and then people will refer me either as Howie or through Sharkmatic. And either way, I'll take it. So that's why we said both.
I don't think I got the question or the answer I was looking for on what is your business coach telling you, because I'm hearing some generalities, which is that's actually a thing that business coaches are kind of known for.
Yeah.
I had somebody tell me or say it earlier. It's like they'll say, "Let me borrow your watch to tell you what time it is." Kind of
Right.
That was hilarious, right?
By the way, the other name for this podcast is Let's Throw Them Under the Bus podcast. So, I mean, right now, tell us what your
We do it
coach
in front of
says.
our faces. It's fine, yeah.
But I think the reality is
Same acronym, LT, Let's Throw Them Under the Bus.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But what's the actionable direction on? Because ultimately, you need better prospecting. Am I right or wrong on that?
No, you are right.
Okay, so have you asked your business coach that?
Yes, and
what did they say?
And the answer is finding those relationships where I can create disciples, if you will, people that can go out and sell on our behalf, knowing who we are very intimately and then representing us. So,
What size of community? You said 25 and about 2,400 doors, so it's about 100 houses per community.
on
right?
average,
On
but
average?
there's a fluctuation, and that's just the stats, the way they
What's
wind
your
up on
ideal
paper.
size?
There's really no magic answer. It's just where we're going to, how many amenities are in the communities, and what typically, and we're hired to do full service management. But if they only want the books done or board meetings or whatnot, so.
But if you just, do you have like a unicorn list of the communities you wish you were managing?
We have a mentality, I guess, and there's no perfect size. It's just how much time is it really going to take to do the job is what we concentrate on. So,
Well, because my thought is if you have a unicorn list, there's one thing that is universal, and it's that the addresses don't change, right? If you had a specific number of communities that you wanted to manage, you don't know who the directors are, but you know they probably live in the community, right? Or at least they own the house in the community. So my thought is if you've got 2,400 people that love your management style, and you specifically find unicorn properties who you would love to manage and probably aren't being managed well because you see you're driving through, people have their crap on the lawns, boopity-beeba, there's probably unhappy folks, or they've got bad reviews in the community, because you can look up.
You can
like,
find those on Nextdoor. You find them anywhere.
well, you can find it on Google too, because the communities have a
you find them
page
on
and they
Google.
have bad reviews. Oh, you know,
even
they
on
never
Facebook. You
take
can-
out the trash. But you could do direct mail campaigns of just 5-star reviews from people in your communities. That's like, we love Bluebonnet. They take such great care. You know, they always keep us up to date. The community events, whatever it is that you guys do special,
Yeah.
because it doesn't really matter what the board thinks. It matters what the people paying think.
Yeah, and I'll also go back to what you said about finding those people that are going to go out and sell on your behalf or be raving fans. Big companies can cultivate relationships to create raving fans. Small, local, regional businesses, almost impossible. There might be people who love you, and we talked about this on the last podcast. They might leave you a review. You're only going to hear from them if they hate what you do.
But that's the thing. If you can educate, because 100 houses is really not that many. And I bet they have to have board meetings, right? And I bet most of the time people don't go to the board meetings. But if you can send them direct mail, educating them on how to make their displeasure known, you can go to the board meeting. Just basic standard stuff that almost is universal across HOA bylaws, right? They have to have board meetings quarterly. Like, find your next board meeting, go to it, and if you're not happy with your HOA, we do a great job. Just let them know to give us a call.
So I've got a question, and I'm really, really excited to hear the answer to this. Are you on Nextdoor?
yes,
Okay, so what are you doing on Nextdoor?
not much.
Okay, that's where like neighborhood people are, right? Is that
That's
is
where
that
the
a good
mad
place?
people are.
That's where the mad people are, but that's where the opportunities are.
Yeah, and the lost dogs are there too.
And the lost dog.
Yeah. But is that a viable
crime.
platform to grow an HOA or a PM property management company?
I would think so, and forgive my ignorance. I haven't vetted these fully enough to know where I should be.
Yeah.
You know,
You can
spending
even
my
run
time.
ads in there. They'll let you run ads.
Really, I didn't know that.
So is there?
I'm starting. Oh, sorry, Heather.
go ahead.
I'm starting to get more traction from the Alignable platform.
Okay.
So
Why?
the ability. First of all, it's geared towards business and maybe even small business, depending. But
By city, yeah.
and it's at least nationwide, and there are a lot of smarter people than myself that are doing some pretty creative things with
Are
advertising.
you on
marketing.
Alignable or do you
I'm
coach your
on it,
clients?
but I don't.
I was on it. I'm off it. But
off.
sorry, what are you recommending to your clients as a business coach?
Like social platform to be on.
Yeah,
Whichever
or-
one you're going to actually use.
But are you? What do you tell them about Alignable?
Oh, I don't.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know
here's
about
one-
Alignable.
I know very little about Alignable. I was just introduced to it, but from what I learned pretty quickly was that it's by city, right? So you belong on Alignable assigned to a particular city, like San Antonio or Austin. You can't belong to San Antonio and Austin, right? It's one city that you're a part of. So that seems cool, but I don't know.
But people
beyond
have to. You have to sign up. When I first did it,
B2B.
more than a year ago, it was a little bit. The barrier to entry was kind of high in terms of the amount of things you have to input to do it, and then to have access to other people, you had to also jump through some hoops. So I think people lose interest right away, and then it takes your list or your contacts, and then it sends stuff out to them.
That's why I get those.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And then people are irritated. Hey man, why are you sending me this Alignable crap? I go, I didn't send it to you. The Alignable sent it to you, but from my contacts. So I'm like, that's it. Download
Interesting.
Alignable.
Because I would get it. So-and-so wants you to send you referrals on Alignable. I'm like, what is this? I didn't ask for it.
And I'm probably saying this for the first time, but we run a very modest Google Ads campaign at this point. So
Targeting who?
like a pay per click. We run keywords and
Right,
But who are you
who's-
targeting?
Yeah.
people that are searching for association property management, community management, so forth. So I mean, in our area, of course.
How's that working for you?
It's slow. I'm not spending a ton of money, but we're working it. So
But the ROI is there. You're getting a return on what you're paying.
what I'm satisfied with it now. So, but yes.
I would think you'd find people who are looking for a property manager, like to manage their investment property,
Yeah.
not
You'd have to be careful on
HOA.
your keywords.
Exactly.
Then you have to start putting in negative keywords of what you don't want to come up for. So that's what you do. So we manage pay-per-click campaigns, but we look at them very closely because it could cost a client $50 if somebody clicks on it and it's not the right kind of client that they're looking for. So right away we turn that into a negative keyword. Don't bring me any more people like this. And then Google doesn't bring back any more like that.
Can I ask, is there someone within PMI who's doing exactly what you want to be doing at a higher level?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Who is
Absolutely.
Where are they getting their leads?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, like, have you connected with them and are you doing exactly what they're doing?
I don't know if I'm doing exactly what they're doing, but we have a strong presence in Texas. The ones that are getting more leads and perhaps growing faster than we are, they're in Dallas, Houston, Austin, et cetera, and then outside, Texas, same characteristic.
But
So-
we're growing really fast here in San Antonio.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
No, but
like,
he
can you
doesn't have
connect-
San Antonio. He has between San Antonio and Austin.
in Austin. Well, that's growing like crazy.
But
Right, but if you're going to model, do a little R&D, rip off and duplicate, you want to do it from another rural property management incorporated branch or,
well, that's what I'm saying. You can go outside the
franchise.
state. Obviously San
To see
Antonio,
how
Austin will
they're
see you as
doing it.
competition.
That's what I think would be a benefit of the franchise. Again, it's like is there another one in your franchise that's doing it in a different area that's not your competition?
Between two big
That-
cities.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Have you
rural.
got those yet?
And does your franchisor encourage that, because there are some franchisors that don't like the franchisees getting together and chit-chatting.
Yeah, let's start there.
Yeah, no, they're fine with that. I mean, that's probably one of the, if you've got to pay a royalty at the end of every month, is the ability to connect with other PMI, other owners, other franchisees that are doing the exact same thing.
I would imagine like Arizona, the Carolinas, Nevada would probably be a good.
Have you
place to
identified
find.
any yet?
Yeah, we know a couple. I don't know to the
They're successful.
carbon copy. Yeah, carbon copy, and then another. How do I say it? Another characteristic or concern is that we don't grow too quickly, and so while we've been first couple of years we're rocky, but we've got profit. It could be better. The lead generation is there. It could be better. So we're trying not
So,
to.
are you concerned about growing too quickly? Is that a legitimate concern, or is it something that
Yeah.
you're worrying about needlessly? Because if lead generation is something that you need more of, then how could you possibly be concerned about growing too quickly?
Well, because in 4 years we've kind of we've overcome the classical objections of just a startup.
Okay.
And now we're able to take on new clients, but we've taken on just okay. You said yes. Okay, you said yes. You said yes, and now it's really trying to distinguish ourselves based on who we are and how we want to brand ourselves, represent ourselves, and so there's, I guess it's maybe I'm answering your question poorly, but it's a combination of growth, but in the right way.
What's the right way? Like, how do you guys want to distinguish yourselves?
Well, it ties into one of your previous questions. What's a good client, and what are the characteristics that we want? The attitude of a board member and the coachability, if you will, of that client that we're working with. That needs to be a good, healthy. If we're looked at, let me tell it this way. We're often sought at. The volunteers that are making the decisions. They have very little. They can't get paid. Very little to no training. Do they want to do this by themselves? Absolutely not. They want someone to do it for them. We're the necessary evil in the room. The expectations are that you alleviate all my pain. I'll pay you the least amount of money and just make this go away. And we have to be there, right? And so now we get it. Like, why do they receive such poor communication from all these large companies out there who are in it to make money? There's a huge stress, turnover, pain in the butt factor, et cetera, in that 4-letter word, which is HOA again. And so our job is to come into a ostensibly hostile environment, while our land developers tend to be pretty good, and we can kind of steer that in a much better direction. They've either fired their old company, and now everything's on fire, and my job is to come in the room and make everything okay. I've got to have a very strict regimen on expectations, what you're going to pay me, what I'm going to do for you, and so on and so on.
Have you found that your best clients, have you educated that board? Like, you've ended up kind of shaping those board members into good boards?
Absolutely. That's it has to be that way. Otherwise,
and can you be a speaker and make that something that you put on your LinkedIn profile?
See,
you're available to go and
I was
speak?
going to do one step more, though. Could you be an HOA board educator? Like, if you're going to be on an HOA board, like, I'll come in and do a training on how to manage an HOA board. I bet you'd get a lot of clients from that. And you don't necessarily get clients, but you go and you do like a half-day Saturday or even just an hour seminar on here's the ins and the outs of being on the HOA board. You could even do it as a requirement for applying to be on the board. And the boards would probably like that, because no matter what, you're going to get in people. And as a sidebar, you tell them, okay, and you guys absolutely can manage it yourself. Yeah. Or if you don't want to do here.
Yeah,
so
you could do one every month, start off every month and do it on Zoom and invite everybody from,
or just do it quarterly, like when they roll over the board or whatever. But it's just like a free HOA
Have you tried that already?
And that is on a smaller scale. So we're a small office. I mean, we're less than 10 employees. So it's bandwidth and a function of time. But no, absolutely, Heather. I mean, that is one way that we can not only demonstrate our commitments, but give back and educate. Now, I hope that on the receiving end, whether it's boards, our clients, homeowners alike, whether that message, is well received, and it's hard not to come across as bossy or directive, but to say that in a way that you are their coach, you are their advocate, you're giving information, you're creating education and awareness and so forth.
You're going to help them save time and hassle, right? I mean,
Amen.
I would focus on the what's in it for me kind of a thing,
and
right?
you can highlight, like, if you do have, because you don't need to go just to your clients to do this, you can do it to anybody, and you can highlight how to tell if you have a good HOA management company. Here's how fast they should be responding.
You can
Here's
even
what they
back
should
up
be
from there
doing.
and say, here are the things you need to know before you get on an HOA board.
Yeah.
Because these are going to attract people
That's
who are
a
thinking
Google
about
search, yeah.
wanting to be on an HOA board. And I'm like, I need to talk to Stephen before I actually do this.
Yeah, or go to your YouTube channel, watch your video series where you talk to people. You can
Yeah.
But the reason I said, yes, you want to try to market and network directly with the people that can hire you, but you also don't know who can refer you. I was on a board of a camp between San Antonio and Austin. I'm not going to say who it was. And it's in the middle of a neighborhood association. The neighborhood association came in and was formed after the camp was established there, many years later. But then all the houses grew around it, and then their HOA got pretty big. And they, through their HOA, the people on the HOA came up with a really great idea. So they thought, we're going to start charging for permits to the camp for anybody who comes in to do something other than what the camp charter says that they were founded for, which is summer camp for kids. But the camp was being rented out for weekend retreats and things like that. So the attorneys got involved, and the camp almost sued not only the HOA, but the city out of existence, like almost bankrupt the city.
The camp was there first.
Correct.
Yeah.
But HOA sometimes have these really good ideas on how to increase their revenue, and they're like, oh, who do we go after? The 800-pound gorilla, because they have all the money, So I guarantee you, me being on the board, I would have recommended that they talk to a professional management company, you know what I mean, and have somebody, because they didn't have anybody. They ended up having to go hire an attorney.
Yeah.
And I would have known that if they had a professional management company, that might have steered them a little differently.
That's a different approach to social media, is these educational pieces.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. And I will plug my team for a moment. We do a great job when we take on a new client. We make sure that we, during a transition phase from a developer or a previous management company, the indoctrination of who we are and our expectations, but then some of the common questions. If you need to, once we open up the toolbox, how do you navigate the website and how do you get your questions answered? We do a great job with our technology of creating how-tos and frequently asked questions, FAQs. So I will take just a moment to tip my hat to, because after 4 years of relatively short business, it may feel like 40 years sometimes, but they do a fantastic job. So
That's the thing. You got all the content. All of it. Already curated. Love it.
That content is great for SEO, but that would be up to corporate to do that for you.
Yeah,
on
so
their site.
you turn it into videos and social media and blogs and FAQs on a website or whatever.
But that's the thing. Could you just go on and just sit in front of a camera and say some of the common frequently asked questions about HOAs?
Some franchisors let their franchisees build landing pages and other stuff. Just depends on what questions you ask and how much you need more business.
So if you want to exit your franchise at some point in the future, what does that look like?
yeah, great question. I don't know yet personally. We signed a 10-year FDD in 2020, so we're about the halfway point, and we're actually looking to expand our services. We now have a realtor with a track record, career agent, in-house. And so we're looking to expand into rentals and possibly sales down the road. So,
And do you think that will that create any kind of animosity with people that could potentially hire you because they might be realtors and they might look at you as competition? Have you thought about that? You know, that if you're going to offer those services in-house and the people that are responsible for hiring you that are on the HOA board, maybe some of them are realtors and then they're like, I don't know if I want to give it to these people.
Yeah, and that does happen, and we need to tread lightly there. But you know, in areas where we don't have a presence, obviously we'll be able to have more offerings, and so
yeah. The reason I say that is we have companies that we're strategic partners with. I know Mark likes that term, strategic partners.
Or alliance.
Strategic alliances that are media placement companies that do other stuff in marketing that we purposely leave out of our portfolio so that we have referral alliances with these people. And
Excellent.
we can give each other business. So, all right, good stuff.
Would they allow you, or is kind of back to this question about building the preferred vendor list? Is that something that you've heard about, that you've done yourself? Is it no-go, or what are your thoughts on that?
As well, I mean, and we, you know, when it comes to services for the HOA, attorneys, landscapers, and so forth, we always, you know, we have a good, you know, Rolodex of our own. But as far as us being a preferred
No,
company,
I'm saying
No,
like
where
if
you manage it, like where you control it and you invite people to come in. Is that what you're saying?
Well, so like if you've got 100 homes, right, and you're doing a newsletter every month out to the homes saying, hey, these are the blah, 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 right? Do you do a newsletter out to the homes or no?
we occasionally,
Okay.
occasionally.
It's a great
2,400 homes if he just does the same newsletter across all the communities.
Yeah, so if you've got that, and then you say, well, you know, either whether it's a website link or whether it's you put it in there, but this is our preferred vendor list. If you know what I mean, for a plumber, for HVAC, whatever, if you've got that there, and these are all vetted good companies, right, that insured, bond, and all that kind of stuff, you can charge them for you to list that there.
Keller Williams charges $500 just to be on the list of the things they give
That's
new
low.
agents.
I've heard $1,500 on average. When I've heard these come
Well,
up,
they don't give
it's
it
like
to
$1,500
exact. They just give it to agents. If you're sending people's info direct to door or direct to their inbox, and you're the HOA company, so they're going to click on the link because they don't want to miss a fine.
But is this a revenue stream that your franchise teaches you, or do they say don't do this? Or I'm just curious, what are your thoughts there?
I don't know what the hard boundaries are on that. That's not something that we have. We'll do a newsletter based on what any particular client, and sometimes they have their own built out, and we can facilitate that however large or small. But typically that's driven by them. Bluebonnet, PMI Bluebonnet hasn't really got its fingers that deep into what you're describing yet.
So nothing's preventing you from doing it, that at least I'm not
Not to the
hearing.
best of my knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can provide value. You've already talked about what the value would be that you could give to the homeowners, right? Because whether they're thinking about being on the board or they have questions about HOA and services and how they work or whatever, you can have community information, events, whatever is coming up like that, and then you can have your preferred vendor list, right? You
Yes.
could literally go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I want to build out a newsletter for my homeowners in my HOA.
I would imagine it'd be a value prop to the HOA. And you know what? As part
Yes.
of our services, we send out a monthly newsletter of news and community events, and we have a preferred vendor list, so they always have access to high quality vendors in the neighborhood, and it's free to you.
Yep, and it's once a month, and yet from that you can build out a list to say 10 vendors. I'll charge them $500 a pop, a year, and you made yourself $5,000 a year. It came out of nowhere. I love creating money out of thin air.
Yeah.
Good job, Mark.
You know what I mean? It's like, but it's a value add all along the way, and not only that, but it helps you create relationships with vendors. And I think 500 is too low, by the way. I
Right.
think you'd want to at least.
It also
1,500.
gives you leverage on these vendors because they don't want to not do a good job for one of the homeowners in the HOA that you manage because
And you don't have to just have one per seat. You could have 2 or 3 to give people options, because you never want to just recommend one.
3 is a good number, because then it's like these are our 3 plumbing companies, whatever. That way you're not dialing in too much on
now
one.
it's $15,000.
And you could group
per
it by
HOA.
like community locations. So you
Times
could have like
25. I
4
can't even do the
different
math.
lists, based on the area. It's just all
No,
about
all
relationships.
great ideas. At some point, I need to hire a virtual assistant from Crocus to help me out with all this
it's a matter of
extra lifting.
Yeah.
watching the episode back, take the notes, build the list out of who's servicing your homeowners, and get on that immediately. That's like an instant revenue source. I see no barrier to you doing that other than just doing the legwork.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
if you need help with that, certainly. But I mean, you could go to Fiverr and say, hey, look, I want to hire somebody to do a monthly newsletter for me. I'm going to pay you $60 a month, and that's not an employee you have to manage. They just put that stuff together for you from Fiverr. So this isn't about VAs. It's about leverage, and it's about making 5, 10, 15, 20 grand a year just like that, and providing better service to your homeowners.
Good stuff.
That's why we do what we do.
Exactly.
All right, cool. All right, so Stephen, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
They can go to our website, www.pmibluebonnetrealty.com. They can call a number also on the website. I don't have that tattooed on me, but
all right, cool. Well, what did you think? First podcast?
no, it's really good content. Really neat to come in here and experience this and get some really, really valuable insight. Thank you for having me.
That's one of the goals that since we've kind of been shifting what we're doing here on the podcast is to deliver value to the guests as well. Get to know, find out what's going on, and then you're going to get different perspectives on here's something that maybe they hadn't thought of that they can go away and go, okay, I could implement this and do something new with my business.
How often do you have conversations with other business owners where you just brainstorm ideas about your business?
That's probably where I would key up Alignable again. I'm having very good success at that. The product for us is property management, but all owners have very similar challenges and so on and so forth. And you know, that's where I'm so very frequently to answer your question. So, yeah.
What's the most interesting insight you've gotten from that? Sorry, I know we're wrapping up. But.
Yeah, no, it's I think depending upon what you want, and my vision and my drive is to kind of cross over from a self-employed person to more of an owner entrepreneurial role. And so I would encourage business coaching, personal development, reading, networking, trying new things, not just sticking with antiquated ways. And when I have it figured out, Heather, I'll let you know.
Okay. And last thing I'm going to ask, just because I am a coach, what are you going to walk away from this and go do?
LinkedIn, newsletters, give Howie a phone call.
There we go.
Why are you calling Howie?
Yeah.
I want to know. All right, cool. Well, great chat. And,
That was great.
Yeah, I love it. I feel good that this was a very productive show. So we can not only have good time, create content, but we can be productive at the same time. So if you're out there listening, make sure you follow us. You can get to everything easily by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. That's going to be it for this one. Great job, everybody. We will see you next week.